Streamlining the garment sampling process. In the fashion industry, streamlining the garment sampling process. Creating quality garments requires thorough sampling, but the process doesn't have to be overwhelming. With strategic planning, you can reduce the number of samples needed while maintaining quality standards. This presentation explores the essential garment samples in the development process and provides practical strategies to streamline your sampling workflow. We'll examine which samples are truly necessary, how to combine sample types to increase efficiency, and share industry-proven tips to minimize sampling without compromising your final product. The 8 essential garment samples. 1. Proto or development sample. The first physical version of your design based on your tech pack, typically made with similar but not final materials to keep costs down. 2. Fit sample. Used to check how the garment fits on a model, ensuring proper drape and comfort. While it might not use final materials, the substitute fabric should have similar properties. 3. Size set sample. One garment in all sizes you plan to sell, allowing you to verify how your pattern works across different body types. For budget constraints, consider jump size samples, XS, M, XL. 4. Garment performance test sample. Tests physical and chemical performance including shrinkage, color fastness, and seam strength. Only one color needs full testing if using the same fabric type. The final 4 essential samples. Pre-production sample. Constructed with all final materials, this sample is a test run before bulk manufacturing. It's the last opportunity to make adjustments before production starts. Red seal or sealed sample. This sample features a red tag denoting final approval of fit, construction, trims, and packaging. The factory seals it to prevent alteration so production can commence. Top of production sample. Directly taken from the production line, it shows exactly how the bulk product will appear, including all packaging details like hang tags and folding. Shipment sample. Selected from finished goods, this sample verifies packing details and final touches. Brands often approve shipment only after reviewing these samples. How to combine samples, from 8 to 4. Proto plus fit sample. Use your development sample as a fit sample, having your fit model try on the proto to address both construction and fit issues simultaneously. Size set plus GPT sample. Your size set samples can also serve as garment performance test samples, allowing you to test fit across sizes while also verifying physical properties. PP plus sealed sample. Pre-production samples can be used as sealed samples once approved, eliminating the need for a separate sample before production begins. Top plus shipment sample. The top of production sample can become your shipment sample, serving as both a production verification and final quality check. Warning: don't skip samples thinking you'll save time or money. One client pushed to skip resampling after a fabric issue and ended up with 1,200 see-through leggings after production. Tips to reduce sampling. Planning phase. Create detailed tech packs. Include all necessary details in your tech packs to avoid misunderstandings during production. Comprehensive documentation prevents costly revisions and sample iterations. Make mockups. Create mockups whenever possible. For graphic t-shirts, try different print sizes and placements by having your fit model wear a similar shirt and pinning prints to visualize the final look. Send reference garments. When designing based on existing garments, purchase and send them to your factory. Spending $50 on reference jeans is better than wasting $200 on a rejected sample. Tips to reduce sampling. Communication. Direct communication with sample makers. Schedule direct calls with sample makers to ensure your garments turn out right. Video calls work well when in-person meetings aren't possible, allowing real-time feedback and adjustments. Identify root causes. If repeatedly resampling for the same issues, investigate the root cause. Sometimes what seems like a measurement problem might be a fundamental pattern or design issue requiring discussion with pattern makers. Consistent fit models. Use the same fit models for all samples or regularly update their measurements. One brand kept adjusting a sample's size only to discover their fit model had been losing weight. Advanced strategies for sample reduction. 1. 3D garment sampling. Virtual sampling technology for digital fittings. 2. Pattern blocks. Standardized patterns for repeated designs. 3. Standardized processes. Consistent workflows and documentation. Major fashion brands like Adidas, Hugo Boss, Nike, and H&M have been utilizing 3D sampling for years to streamline development. While it requires adjustments to your product development process, 3D sampling significantly reduces the need for physical samples. Creating pattern blocks for frequently repeated or popular designs allows you to skip directly to creating size sets, eliminating early development samples for established styles. Key takeaways for efficient sampling. Strategic planning. Combine sample types where possible to reduce from 8 to 4 essential samples without compromising quality. Clear communication. Detailed tech packs and direct communication with sample makers prevent costly revisions and misunderstandings. Modern technology. Embrace 3D sampling and digital tools to reduce physical sample needs while maintaining quality control. Quality first. Never skip essential samples to save time or money. The cost of production errors far outweighs sampling expenses.
We're all swimming in information these days, right? Sometimes the real win is just getting straight to the point, the core stuff, without getting lost. And that's what we aim for here.
Exactly. And today we're doing a deep dive into something surprisingly intricate. Garment sampling in fashion. We've looked at this video presentation excerpt that really lays out how vital and sometimes kind of tricky this whole process is.
Right. And the goal isn't just to, list the steps. It's about finding smarter ways, making it more efficient, and frankly, helping you dodge some potentially massive, expensive problems. We're pulling the key strategies and warnings from this material.
We'll touch on the different kinds of samples you typically see. Talk about a really clever way to potentially cut that number down significantly, look at what actually makes the process efficient, and definitely flag the big warning the source gives.
Okay. Let's jump in then. The material we looked at maps out a pretty traditional path involving, 8 different key sample types. That sounds like a whole lot of back and forth.
It really can be. You usually kick off with the proto sample or development sample. It's the very first attempt, right? Based on the technical specs. It uses similar but usually cheaper fabrics just to get the basic shape and construction working.
Okay, so a basic physical version to start. What's next on the list?
Then comes the fit sample. This is where you actually put it on a fit model, see how it hangs, how it moves, does it feel right, check the drape, comfort. Again, you might still be using substitute fabrics, but they need to mimic the final ones closely.
And if you're making, say, multiple sizes, small, medium, large, etc.
Yeah, for that you need a size set sample, basically one garment in every single size you intend to sell. It's super important for checking how the pattern grades, how it scales up or down. Does the armhole still work in XXL? Is the waist to hip ratio okay in XS? The source even mentioned maybe doing jump sizes like SL, XXL, if the budget's really tight.
Got it. Proto fit, size set. What about testing the actual fabric and does it hold up?
That's the Garment Performance Test Sample, or GPT. This is where the materials get tested properly. Will it shrink like crazy in the wash? Will colors bleed everywhere? Do the seams actually hold together? It's about making sure the garment doesn't just fall apart on the customer. And often, the source said, you might only need to test one colorway if the base fabric is the same.
Okay, so those first 4 are really nailing down the design, the fit, the sizing, and the basic quality. What happens when you're getting closer to actually producing it?
Right. Then you move on to the pre-production sample, the PP sample. This one's a biggie because it has to use all the final approved stuff, the actual fabric, the right buttons, the final labels, everything. It's really your last look, your last chance for tiny tweaks before you hit go on the main production run.
And assuming that PP sample looks perfect.
Well, often that exact sample becomes the red seal or sealed sample. It gets physically tagged or signed off. It's now the official gold standard for fit, construction, materials, everything. It's basically the factory's green light to start mass production.
Then you've got the top of production sample. What's that?
Yeah, TOP sample. That's pulled right from the very first items coming off the actual production line.
Yeah.
So you see exactly what the bulk goods look like, usually including the final packaging too.
And our last one.
The shipment sample. This is picked from the finished, packed goods right before they leave the factory. It's a final check to make sure everything matches the standard before it ships out. Often, brands approve the whole shipment based on this sample.
8 samples. That really does sound like a huge investment in time, shipping, potential holdups. But the really key insight from this source material is that you can actually streamline this quite a bit, right?
Absolutely. That's the kicker. The source points to a much smarter, more strategic way that could potentially slice those 8 essential samples down to just 4, and crucially, without losing control or compromising quality.
Okay, now we're talking. How does that work? How do you combine them?
Well, first, you can potentially merge the proto and the fit sample. If you get your fit model to try on that very first proto, you can tackle construction issues and fit issues in one go. The condition is that your proto fabric needs to behave pretty close to the final fabric.
Makes sense. And the size set.
That can often be combined with the GPT tests.
Oh.
So while you're checking the fit across all your different sizes with the size set, you can use those same garments to do the wash tests, the durability tests, and so on.
Ah, clever. Getting multiple jobs done with fewer physical pieces. What about the pre-production and sealed ones?
Yeah, the pre-production sample can essentially be the sealed sample. Once that PP sample made with all the final correct materials is approved, you just seal that specific garment. That becomes the standard. No need to make another identical one just to seal it.
And those last checks, the top of production and shipment? Similar idea. The top of production sample can often double as your shipment sample. You pull one finished, packaged item from the line, check it thoroughly that covers both the production quality and the final packed presentation. One step instead of two.
That's a really practical way to cut down the steps. Beyond just combining samples, what else did the source suggest for making things, run smoother?
It really boils down to clarity and using your resources wisely. Super detailed tech packs are a must. They stop people guessing. Making physical mock-ups for difficult things like, say, placing a graphic correctly can save tons of time going back and forth on samples. And sending reference garments, like buying a competitor's similar item, is often way cheaper and clearer than just describing what you want.
Show, don't just tell. Yeah, that makes sense. And communication beyond the paperwork, definitely. Actually talking to the sample makers when there's a problem, finding the root cause, is the pattern wrong? Or did someone just measure badly? And keeping your fit models consistent. The source had this funny story about a brand whose samples kept needing size tweaks because their fit model was losing weight. Simple thing, but huge impact.
Wow, yeah, an easy fix once you know. What about bigger picture, like technology?
Oh yeah, the source really emphasized 3D garment sampling, using virtual tech for digital fittings. Apparently, it can massively cut down the need for physical samples. Big names like Adidas, Nike, Hugo Boss, H&M are already deep into this, speeding things up a lot.
Using digital tools more. The source also mentioned things like standardized pattern blocks for styles you repeat often, right? So
Yeah.
you can skip some early steps using patterns you already know work, and just generally having standard ways of doing things internally.
Exactly. Now, on to the big caution. And the material was really, really clear on this. Do not skip essential sample stages just to save a bit of time or cash up front.
And there's that painful example they gave, right? The client who had a fabric issue skipped resampling to save maybe a week and a few $100s.
And ended up stuck with 1,200 pairs of leggings that were completely see-through once produced in bulk. The cost and headache of dealing with that absolutely dwarfed the cost of getting one more sample made correctly.
Oof. Yeah, that's a stark reminder. Quality checks aren't roadblocks. They're like essential insurance.
Totally.
So wrapping this up, what's the main takeaway for you from this deep dive?
I think the key things from this source are pretty straightforward. Plan strategically. You might be able to get those 8 samples down to 4. Clear documents and actual communication are vital for efficiency. And embracing tech like 3D sampling is becoming huge.
And underpinning all of that is prioritizing quality checks. Don't cut those corners. Remember those 1,200 see-through leggings? Fixing bulk mistakes costs way, way more than getting the samples right.
Absolutely. Understanding this whole sampling maze and using these strategies, like the ones outlined in the source, can genuinely save you a lot of time, money, and stress in development.
It makes you think, though. If this level of streamlining, detailed documentation, and rigorous testing is so critical in making clothes, to avoid these huge, unexpected blowups,
Right.
where else? Where else in your own work, maybe creative projects or manufacturing, could applying these same ideas, streamline, document, test, make a really big difference down the line? Something to chew on.